Hello, I'm Tracy Pa with the Midday News. Prime Minister James Marape is set to sign the landmark PNG to Australia Security Treaty today in Canberra, following approval by the National Executive Council last week. This important step marks a deepening of our national security, economic prospects and regional cooperation. The treaty ushers in a new chapter in the long-standing PNG to Australia partnership. It goes far beyond traditional defense, opening pathways for collaboration in areas essential to Papua New Guinea's future. As Victoria pushes ahead with a ban on machetes and urges other jurisdictions to do the same, the Northern Territory government is resisting, saying there are legitimate reasons to own them. But Territorians who've fallen victims to violence at the hands of armed offenders are calling for machetes and crossbows to be taken off the streets.
Trevor Miller was fast asleep when two teenagers broke into his home, changing his life forever.
The older one dragged me out of bed by my hair. I managed to break free of him into the bathroom. I got the door closed and locked, and then he kicked the door in, took the door completely off.
Then one of the boys pulled out a machete, striking Mr. Miller across both hands and sending him to hospital for 3 months.
Whilst I was in surgery, they had to resuscitate me. The blood loss was that bad.
In some remote communities, machetes and crossbows appear during violent flare-ups, and the results can be catastrophic.
My 4 grandchildren got hurt by crossbow. One survived, went to hospital, and I lost one at the scene, right through his heart.
Ever since that tragic day, Regina Wilson has been pleading for a weapons ban.
Nobody listening to us, and more people got to get hurt, more got to die. Nobody should have it in the community.
I've been here 54 years. This is the worst it's been. Successive governments have failed since I've been in the Northern Territory, and at the moment, crime might be a little bit down, but it hasn't really got to the root of the cause of why this is happening.
Now, as the Victorian government pushes for the rest of Australia to back its ban, the peak body for older Territorians is also calling on the NT government to ban machetes and crossbows for those without a genuine need.
You can put these kids in jail or do this and do that, but when they come out, what happens?
Lawyers acting for young people say the government's tough talk on crime is doing little to discourage the carrying of weapons.
It would be naive of us to think that a 15-year-old is sitting down and watching the news on a nightly basis or reading the newspaper or keeping up with debates that are happening in Parliament. That's not part of their world. When the carrying of weapons becomes more and more common, more and more people do it.
But Trevor Miller supports the government's approach to juvenile offending.
I can't see any reason why kids would possibly want or need a machete. They put one in their hands and they should be in a lot of trouble.
The NT government says while community safety is paramount, people, not weapons, cause harm, and machetes and crossbows are legitimate tools for hunting and gardening. They say they'll continue to hold offenders to account without unfairly restricting law-abiding Territorians.
A rescue effort is underway after a snowstorm trapped hundreds of people on Mount Everest in Tibet. Chinese state media reported on Sunday, local time, that hundreds of local villagers and rescue teams had been deployed to trackers stranded near the eastern face of the world's highest peak, as unusual heavy rain and rainfall put the Himalayas. CCTV reported that as of Sunday, 350 trackers had reached the small township of Kudang, while contact with the remaining 200 plus trackers had been made. Visitors to the remote valley of Kama, which leads to the eastern Kunsan face of Mount Everest, were in the hundreds this week, taking advantage of an 8-day National Day holiday in China. Hepatitis B infection and mortality rates in the Northern Territory used to be the worst in the nation, primarily in remote Aboriginal communities, which have limited access to healthcare. Infection can lead to severe liver damage and even cancer. But in recent years, the tide has turned, with the NT now leading the nation in hepatitis B care.
Territory's hepatitis rates appear grim, with diagnosis of the viral infection skyrocketing in recent years. But healthcare professionals say it's not all bad news, and the increased numbers are a sign access to healthcare is improving.
See what we've got to work with.
Most people in the NT who have hepatitis B have had it their whole lives.
With hepatitis B, it's usually, it's babies, it's people that are either contract it from birth or at a really young age that are most likely to develop chronic hepatitis B, which requires lifelong treatment.
15 years ago, the mortality rate in the NT was the highest in the country, mostly in Indigenous remote communities.
Especially here, Elko and other parts of the community, there's a vulnerable death, a lot of them, and we are doing ceremony after ceremony after ceremony.
As you can imagine, if you are being told that you have a chronic health condition that you're going to have for your whole life, you need to have care every 6 months, you have a risk of liver cancer if you don't look after your liver well and don't engage with the treatment to prevent that, that can be really scary. And that can be even more scary if it's explained to you in a language that's not your first language.
The Northern Territory has had the biggest decrease of hepatitis B mortality rates across jurisdictions since 2011. And we're the only state or territory in the country to have closed the gap in hepatitis B care.
Due primarily to the Hep B Pass program, which brings healthcare into communities with elders and in language.
We're achieving the national strategy targets, so that means that we have 99% of people diagnosed, so we know that they have chronic hepatitis B, and the national target's 80%.
Health that cares about the whole community.
Landslides and floods triggered by heavy downpours in Nepal and India have killed more than 60 people. Officials say as rescue workers race to reach cut-off communities in remote mountainous terrain. Territorial downpours have lashed Nepal since Friday, leaving many areas in the Himalayan nation inundated. Spokeswoman for the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Authority, Shanti Mahat, told AFP on Sunday that at least 44 people have died in rain-triggered disasters in Nepal. According to federal disaster officials, 5 people are still missing. In sports, the Bok Blong Pikinini Charity Golf Tournament is set to tee off on Friday, October 10th for the 3rd consecutive year. A great idea it is in combining golf with a course like children's education, as BPP hosts yet another exciting charity golf tournament at the greens of the Royal Port Moresby Golf Course. This event continues to be a significant fundraiser for BBP, supporting their mission to provide free early childhood education and library services to children across Papua New Guinea. BBP is a not-for-profit charity, and all funds raised go back to supporting BBP's early childhood education programs and mission to increase literacy rates in PNG. Aviate Connie Storms won its first Port Moresby Rugby League Grand Final title yesterday since joining the competition in 2009. their 18-8 victory over Ijivitari Butterflies at the Santos National Football Stadium brought a smile to the club's committed fans and ended decade-long title doubt. The Storms dominated the first form to get to leading Butterflies 12-2 at the halftime break before finishing the game strongly in the second half. Meanwhile, the newcomers in the Port Moresby Rugby League, Sensor Roosters, was impressive in its debut season, winning Club of the Year 2025 award. Some of its players in men, women and junior divisions also won individual awards. There were some hiccups during the season with both clubs and administrations, but the competition has ended successfully. All eyes are on even better 2026 season. And that ends our news update. Do join us at 6 tonight for the main bulletin. Bye for now.